Steve here. It's the show where I answer your questions, and this week my first question comes from Katrina Kassar, who says, "Hey Steve, I was thinking about something the other day and I wanted to ask your opinion on it. Do you personally believe that religion, Christianity in this case, has any good purpose of being a part of our society nowadays? Sure, it has sparked up some problems and all, homophobia, for example, but what about its other values? Do you believe there are any worth being taught? I'm an atheist who lives in a very Christian country, with religion being a mandatory subject at school. I would love to hear your opinion on this." My answer in general would be yes, that even though I'm an atheist, I do think there are aspects of religion and Christianity in particular that are good to have around in society. But the other part of that answer has to be, which Christianity are we talking about? Because there are hundreds, thousands, I think there are actually like tens of thousands, depending on how you define it and where you draw the lines. There are tens of thousands of denominations of Christianity being practiced throughout the world right now. So it depends very much on which Christianity you're talking about, just as it depends very much on which version of Islam you're talking about. Or which version of any other widely practiced religion that you're talking about when you're weighing the pros and cons. If you pull back far enough and you look at it in the most general terms possible, then of course you will see things that are horrible, that extremists do, things that encourage people to treat others poorly, to be bigoted, to be closed-minded, in some cases even to be violent. And you'll also see things that are good things, that encourage people to be charitable and to be kind and to be forgiving and to be civic-minded and to care about social justice and to care about equality. And those things, I think, are nice to have around. You don't need religion for those things. You don't need to have religion in order for people to care about each other and to care about their society and to care about making the world a better place and to care about making the world a more peaceful and just place. You can have those in a completely irreligious society. They don't belong to Christianity or to any other religion. But Christianity can be a source of those values and of those priorities for some people. And in that sense, I think it's a good thing. Troubleshooter 125. So now Trump's Muslim travel ban is going to the Supreme Court. It would be highly unconstitutional, but I would pay money to see them rule 8-0 against his sorry ass. And I'm hoping they will either see their way clear to do so or refuse to take the case. Whereupon, what do you think? Does Dear Donnie go apeshit on SCOTUS, or is it just possible that he cops a clue when faced with a ruling from the highest court of the land? No, I think if it goes to the Supreme Court and they rule against him, as I'm sure most of us watching this hope that it would, I don't think that it will humble him in any way. I don't think he'll take any sort of a hint. The closest that he has come during his political career to making any sort of mea culpa or walking back some rhetoric of his was when he did that ass-backwards, self-congratulatory, dishonest, non-retraction of the birther stuff. Remember that, where he gave that press conference where he made a big deal about him being the last person in the world to admit that Barack Obama was born in the United States? And he acted like he was doing us all a big favor and we should all congratulate him that he was finally acknowledging this obvious, long since established fact. That's the closest he gets. There's no such thing as forgiveness to him. There's no such thing as apology for him. There's no such thing as, oh man, I was wrong. I'm really sorry. I was totally wrong about that. My bad. Like he doesn't have that part of his brain, I don't think. So no, even if the Supreme Court ruled unanimously against him and said, you can't do this, this is illegal, this is unconstitutional, you do not have the power to do this, unequivocally, wrong, no, not allowed, I think he would react in the same petulant, self-absorbed manner that he has acted so far when the court has denied him what he wants to do. Dave Kaziki, what do you think of period adventures with modern dialogue? The latest Tarzan movie had a British lord in 1890 saying, "We're screwed." But movies like The Witch were less accessible, with dialogue more in tune with the 18th century. and the English in Macbeth is incomprehensible. I think it depends on the movie, and it depends on what the movie is aiming for. I think the one thing we have to realize when we watch movies that are set in different historical periods is no matter what they do with the dialogue, no matter what choice they make, what we are seeing is an affectation. What we're seeing is an artistic choice. It is artificial by necessity. And I guess the question is, if you are a filmmaker, what fiction do you want to tell to best sell your story to the audience? Do you want to just do away with trying to approximate period dialogue altogether and just say, let them talk like people today talk, let them speak in a way that will be familiar and readily accessible to the moviegoers, and it'll be anachronistic, but who cares, you know? That's not important. What's important is reaching the people emotionally. Or do you want to say, no, I want to create a sense, so I want to create a more immersive experience where people feel like they're being transported back to this time period. It depends. It depends on how you want to go with it. It depends on what you are aiming for as far as a reaction of the audience. And both of them are equally valid because both of them are ultimately artificial. They're artistic choices that directors make. John Brockman, hey Steve, in the face of the unrelenting stream of villainy pouring out of the Trump administration and Trump lackey headquarters, nay Congress, it can be difficult to maintain a positive attitude. This is made even more difficult if you live with depression. Could you have Stuffy sing You Are My Sunshine for all of us to play whenever we're feeling blue and have Jack McPherson assassinate the Republican Party? Not any of the people in it, just the party. I will speak to Jack about it. I'll see what he can do, but keep in mind within the story of the Steve and Stuffy series, Jack has accepted a position within the Trump administration. The last we heard from Jack, he said he was going to take the job that was offered him as head of the ATF, so he might not be as willing to torch the Republican Party as maybe he would have been a few months ago, but I'll talk to him. I'll see what I can do. And as for Stuffy singing You Are My Sunshine, You Are My Sunshine is actually a copyrighted song, and I do not have clearance to have Stuffy sing that song for you. But I have asked Stuffy to sing another song that is public domain, that is a lovely song in its own right. So I'm going to ask Stuffy now to favor you with his rendition of the classic song, the classic parlor song, I Love You Truly. Stuffy, take it away. I love you truly, truly, dear. Life with its sorrow, life with its tear, fades into dreams when I feel you are near. For I love you truly, truly, dear. That was really good. Thank you. I feel just like Edith Bunker. Okay. Patrick Dodds. Steve, could I get your opinion of the Star Trek Voyager episode Living Witness? It's the episode where a copy of the EMH appears in a future where the Voyager crew is portrayed as villains who participated in genocide. It's my favorite episode of the entire Star Trek canon, and I'm a TNGer. Where you rank it as an episode of Voyager and of all Star Trek in general? Please, I got to know, man. It maybe doesn't stand out as strongly for me as it does for you because it falls into a type of episode that Voyager did a lot. And when I say a lot, they did it 3 or 4 times, but it's a very similar premise that they used repeatedly in fairly high-profile episodes, where it deals with a future or a possible future, an alternate future, where where something dreadful happened to the crew and then it has to be changed in some way. Living Witness is sort of a play on that, where the Doctor isn't necessarily changing the past, but he's changing the way the actions in the past are perceived by people in the future. And Voyager did that a few times. Voyager did that for an episode called Timeless, which was their big 200th episode. And they did it for the series finale, where there was the future where Voyager, made it home, but made it home many years later. And Janeway decided, no, this wasn't good enough. We have to go back and make it so we get home earlier so it's better. You know, they did that a lot. They did the hypothetical future timeline that needs to be fixed somehow storyline a few times. So those episodes kind of bleed together for me. So Living Witness doesn't like stand out to me. It's certainly not one of my favorite Star Trek episodes, but I don't think it was terrible either. I've been rewatching some Voyager over the last couple of weeks here and there as I have time, and it's not. At least so far, you know what I mean? I'm only midway through the first season, but it's not a terrible show, not at this point. It's not a great show. I don't think it was ever a great show, but it's not awful. It's not, you know, the dregs that I often remember it as. Adam Rainstopper, Steve, do you think this entirely right-wing government could be a blessing in disguise? Maybe that it simply shows up in stark relief as a right-wing government, as opposed to the small government Democrats like Bill Clinton? I don't know about blessing in disguise. That seems a little strong, but maybe silver lining. I think that a lot of people are paying attention now that weren't paying attention before, both on the left and the right. People are sort of waking up to what Trump and what people like him, what extremists like him mean, and what it means to have people like that in charge of the government, and how that is different in a fundamental way than just electing a more traditional Republican or a more traditional Democrat. I think hopefully for the future that will be instructive. This will be, as President Obama used to say, we can use this as a teachable moment. We can see how corrosive it is and how dangerous it is to normalize people like Trump, to normalize just extremists and people who treasure their ignorance and have no use for facts and have no self-discipline and are just all too willing to vilify people who oppose them in really harsh, direct ways, and are reckless and selfish and openly corrupt. Like this sort of thing is incredibly perilous for this country, for this government. And hopefully from now on, we will use Trump as the object lesson. Trump will be the cautionary tale. No, we can't ever do that again. Phil to Prague. One argument I have heard a lot lately regarding free speech and fascists is that they're not doing anything. They're not physically oppressing anyone, and thus their speech should be protected. Only the actions of those they arguably inspire should be opposed. I personally feel that society is doing itself a disservice by protecting hate speech. If it is illegal to, say, deny a black person access to a school, then so should be any demand to that effect. Otherwise, we risk them convincing people to enact them, not by power of argument, but by populism, charisma, or just outright bribery. What's your thought on that? I agree with you. I think your last point there is the strongest one. People who will make that argument, who say, look, it's just speech. Speech isn't violence. You know, if they're just saying something, why should we stop them? Why should we, if their ideas are so bad, why should we be afraid to let them speak? And this seems to me to be an incredibly naive point of view. People who make this argument have apparently never heard of propaganda, or they seem to believe that propaganda doesn't work. and propaganda does work. That's why people still do it. And even if we differ on whether or not there should be hate speech legislation, even if we want to say, okay, I want to stop short of saying that we should exempt hate speech from First Amendment protection so that people can make it illegal to say such things. You can stop short of that, and you can still say that such people should not be given platforms, because the First Amendment guarantees you the right to say it. It means the government can't stop you from saying it or can't punish you for saying it. It doesn't mean that anybody who has a stage or a microphone or a camera has to lend it to you so you can spread your message. That's not the way it works. And the message to people who control platforms should be, don't invite these people on. These people do not deserve to speak on your platform. What they're saying is of no value and is dangerous. Reltzik. There's a gun to your head and you have to name the one and only one scene from film or television that you regard as either the most perfect ever made or the closest to perfect that you've ever seen. something that makes your hair stand on end and your heart stick in your throat. The epitome, the paragon, the scene that if you were teaching film class, you would devote an entire week to having your students analyze it. The perfect confluence of character, dialogue, acting, setup, dramatic purpose, audience impact, camera work, audio cues, insightfulness, inspirational power, and je ne sais quoi. What scene do you pick, and what makes it great? I had to give this some thought because the answer that I'm going to give didn't jump immediately to my mind, but once I got there, it was obvious, and I realized there was really only one choice for me. The scene that I would pick as my favorite scene from any movie, as the greatest scene from any movie that I have seen, is the scene of Mr. Watanabe swinging on the swing in the playground near the end of Ikiru. And for anyone who hasn't seen the film Ikiru, please do yourself a huge favor and see Ikiru. It's Ikiru, Ikiru. And it is a film by Akira Kurosawa. It's a Japanese film from the 50s. It's directed by Akira Kurosawa and starring in the main role Takashi Shimura, who is one of the most wonderful actors who ever stepped in front of a motion picture camera. Mr. Watanabe is a civil servant living in Tokyo who discovers that he has a terminal disease. And he determines that before he dies, he's going to do one bit of good. He feels like he has wasted his life. He's worked as a bureaucrat in an office his entire life, and he feels like he's not going to leave anything behind. He's wasted his whole life. He determines before he dies that he is going to get a playground built in this section of town so that children who live there will have a place to go and to play. And there's a scene of him shortly before he dies, sitting at night all alone in the playground, swinging on the swings. After his playground has been built, he has accomplished his goal. And he's swinging all by himself. And it's winter. And light snow is starting to fall. And he is singing a song, a wonderful, sad Japanese song that he sang earlier in a scene with a young woman that he was trying to connect with. He's singing this song again. Earlier in the first version, he sang the song. It was very sad because it was reflective of sort of his lost youth and his missed opportunities in his life. At the end, though, he sings the song, and it's almost triumphant. And it's shot beautifully. Kurosawa uses like a jungle gym in the foreground of one beautiful tracking shot to sort of frame Watanabe as he's swinging in the square shape of the jungle gym. And it's beautifully shot. The music is wonderful. The singing by Takashi Shimura is beautiful. The song is beautiful. And it's the perfect image to sum up a really wonderful story and a really wonderful film. So that would be the scene. And other than Watanabe's singing, no dialogue. Just the images and the song, the camera work, the setting, the snow. It's really a beautiful scene if you've never seen it. And that's once I thought of that scene. When I was thinking about your question, I knew that was it. That's the one. You don't even have to put a gun to my head. That's the one. So there you go. Great question. Oh, great question. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. That's a great one to end this section of the video on, because it's time for the next part of this little video of mine, which is a section that, I don't know, I mean, I like to call it
the lightning round.
But you can call it whatever you want. Tattoo of her name. Hey Steve, what's your favorite Queen song? You have a favorite Queen song, right? Absolutely. My favorite Queen song is The Show Must Go On. Close second, maybe Fat Bottom Girls. I love a lot of Queen songs, actually. I'm kind of a Queen fan. Another Volvo fan. Many people dislike the sound of their own voices when recorded. Do you, or did you, when starting your YouTube career, have any problems of that sort? No, not really. Someone asked me a similar question to this a few months ago, and I'll just repeat the answer I gave then. At first, it was strange looking at myself on camera because I'm used to seeing myself in the mirror, which is a reversed image, and that just became my self-image. So when I saw myself in video, and it was actually the way other people see me, it took some getting used to, but once I adjusted to it, it just became completely normal. And now my recorded voice and my recorded image seem completely normal to me. So it was never that big of an issue to begin with. Joshua Purvis, hi Steve. My question is, what are some of your favorite episodes from the podcast? They're funny. How's Stuffy? And I've been watching George Reeves' Superman. It's pretty cool. And I've been watching Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. If you watch that show, what are some of your favorite episodes? And the Superman ones. Thanks, Steve. Well, thank you, Joshua. I haven't watched Linda Carter's Wonder Woman for a very long time, so I can't really think of any favorite episodes of that. But favorite episodes of the George Reeves Superman, Panic in the Sky is a classic. And what are some of my favorite episodes from the podcast? I assume you mean the Late Seating podcast. I really like our Birth of a Nation episode. And I really like the episode that we just finished that goes up today, our newest episode. And Stuffy is fine, by the way. He sang a song earlier. I hope you enjoyed that. Lucas Hackert, Cartoon Carnage Wrestling. Yo, Steve, which one's better, Mac or PC? I've never actually owned a Mac. I've used Macs before, but I've never owned one, so I guess I would have to say PC. I'm a PC guy. I'm a PC guy in many ways, as some of the worst people on YouTube would probably tell you. Kevin Logan, what's the best nickname for Trump that you've heard so far? I quite like my own creation, Trumpelstiltskin. Oh, that's a good one, Kev. Trumpelstiltskin is really good. I've heard some really good ones. Hair Hitler, Red Dawn. Of course, Lord Dampnut, the anagram suggested by Colin Mockery. Lord Dampnut is a great one. I use that in my Facepalm 5 videos now. And of course, who can forget Jon Stewart gifting us all forever with Fuckface Von Clownstick. So yeah, those would be the top ones for me. Secular Scholar. Hey Steve, since Eve came from Adam's rib, she is effectively a genetic clone of Adam with one obvious chromosome difference that could have been a copy-paste of the other X chromosome. My question is, when they bumped uglies, was it metaphysical masturbation or extreme incest? Ooh, I mean, it could be both, I guess. Although I guess since I'm not as metaphysically minded as other folks might be, I guess I would lean more toward extreme incest. The real question I have is, how many generations of really just creepy identical children and grandchildren did they have to have before enough mutations snuck into their completely identical gene pool that there actually began to be some differentiation and the kids started to look a little different from each other? Like, think about how creepy that would be. If mom and dad were essentially clones of each other and they were the only people to breed with, the kids would just look just like them for generation after generation after generation. If that's how that would work, I don't even know if that's how that would work. People who know genetics, you can correct me on that because I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Crowbro, so Obama didn't take all the guns. Do you think people like Alex Jones should say, oh, I was wrong and I'm a fear-mongering lunatic who should not be listened to by anyone ever? Well, that's what he should say, but clearly that's not what he's going to say because that's not his act. His act is to be the fearmonger, the conspiracy theorist, the guy who says the completely outrageous, unsubstantiated things and foams at the mouth and yells and screams and jumps up and down and behaves like that, like a rabid dog. That's his act. That's what brings the people in. That's why people pay attention to him. That's why people watch his show. So he's not going to change that. He's going to keep doing that. But should he say, oh, my bad, don't ever listen to me again? Yes, of course. Of course, every conspiracy theorist should say that, whether they have a radio show and a TV show or not. But they don't, because that's just their gig. That's just what they do. Der Wunderbar Bar, which actor do you think has portrayed Sherlock Holmes best? Basil Rathbone, my choice. Jeremy Brett, Ian Richardson, Matt Frewer, Ian McKellen, Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee. God, my personal favorite from that list is actually Peter Cushing, but so little of Cushing's Holmes survives because I think there are only 4 episodes of his run on the old 1960s BBC show as Holmes that survive. And then there's also his Hound of the Baskervilles movie, which is just wonderful, just excellent. I think he made some later movies in the 80s as well as sort of an older Holmes. But there's just not as much of Cushing's Holmes as I would like there to be. So even though I really love him in that role, I think I have to go with Jeremy Brett. Jeremy Brett's Holmes was just so wonderful. This really wonderful, energetic, quirky, explosive performance, especially in the earlier series before he got sick and his health sort of took a toll on his performance. I got to go Jeremy Brett. I gotta. That's it. That's the last question. I'm moving on now to the shout out of the week. And the shout out this week goes to a organization that advocates for a group of people that are under a great deal of threat and attack during the Trump administration. And that group of people would be refugees. And the group that I'm giving a shout out and recommending that you look up and support and share throughout social media to sort of help people fight back against Trump is an organization, one of the oldest refugee aid organizations in the world. I'm talking about HIAS. That's HIAS, which doesn't officially stand for anything anymore, but used to be an initialism for Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. It was started as a group to help resettle Jewish refugees who were fleeing imperialist Russia in the late 19th and early 20th century, and it has since broadened its aims and its goal to help aid refugees from all walks of life all across the world. It is a really, really wonderful organization, one of the great refugee aid organizations in the world. So please do check out and support HIAS. I also want to say that you should check out the Lemme Listen podcast. It's for a much less noble reason than you should support HIAS. But nonetheless, once you do your good deed and you check out HIAS and you support them or try to spread their message, then you can take a break and reward yourself and pat yourself on the back by listening to one of the Lemme Listen podcasts. These are podcasts that are created and mostly co-hosted by the great Jason Harding. And there's a whole bunch of excellent Lemme Listen podcasts. There's Lemme Finish, which Jason co-hosts with Finite Atticus. There is American Monsters and How to Destroy Them, a really funny improv comedy podcast that I have been privileged to guest star on a few times. There is Filmtastic Voyage, co-hosted by Mike and Alex. There is Cinetific, which is a movie science podcast, co-hosted by Professor Jason and Professor Aaron. And last but certainly not least, there is Late Seating, the movie review podcast co-hosted by Jason and me, where we take a fresh look at a movie with a certain reputation, whether that reputation is good or bad. We give it a fresh review, we make fun of it for your own amusement and our own entertainment, and then we decide whether the movie deserves its reputation, whether the reputation is as a great classic film or as an all-time bomb. And this week we have a new episode going up, and the episode is devoted to that romantic comedy from about 10, 12 years ago, that British romantic comedy that a lot of people just inexplicably love. I do not get it, because I didn't think it was that. I'm not spoiling anything by telling you that I didn't think it was that great of a movie, but it's Love Actually. Actually, that's the movie that we review in the new Late Seating episode, and it's a really good episode. I really was happy with how this one came out, and it was a lot of fun to record. It was really funny for Jason and I, and hopefully it'll be funny for you to listen to. So listen to our review of Love Actually, listen to all of the past episodes of Late Seating, and listen to all of the episodes of all of the excellent Lemme Listen podcasts by going to lemmelistenpodcast.com. I don't think you'll regret it. That's my prediction. I do not think you will be sorry. Maybe you will. I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. Maybe your taste in podcast is radically different from mine. That's okay. I'm not thrilled about it, to be honest, but that's okay. Anyway, that's it for me, everybody. I am out of here. I want to remind you, as always, to please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. You can ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many of your questions in the next video as I possibly can. And please do ask, because in order for me to do this, you have to ask. So thanks once again, everybody, for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Hey folks, one more thing before I go. Thanks once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And also, please consider helping me to make more videos like this one by supporting this channel through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives to become a patron of this channel. Thanks, you shit. I was almost done. You know what? I'm just going to leave it in. To hell with it. I'm only human. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.